steal a box from a dark sorcerer, and you might just unleash a nightmare that refuses to let go. That is exactly what happens to a desperate young man named Nogi. By stealing a seemingly ordinary wooden box, he falls into the clutches of a terrifying ancient Jinn. But this wasn't just any box. Hidden inside it rested a cursed, crooked dagger, and an unholy entity was tethered directly to its blade. One by one, the people around Nogi begin to fall prey to this unseen demonic force. His family is thrust into unimaginable danger. No matter how hard Nogi tries to run, he cannot sever the dark tie between himself, the dagger, and the Jinn. Why? Because the entity has chosen him as its new master. Now Nogi is trapped in a desperate fight for his soul. Can he escape the clutches of this demonic force without losing his faith? To find out, we dive into the chilling events of the newly released Indonesian horror story. Let's not waste another second and step directly into the nightmare. The story opens on a desolate, windswept beach under the heavy, suffocating blanket of night. The sound of crashing waves fills the air as a man is seen carefully collecting seawater in a crude container. This wasn't an ordinary errand. It was a preparation for a dark, forbidden ritual. Sitting nearby is a young woman named Lakshmi. Her face is tense, shadowed by a deep, unspoken dread. In front of her sits her father, Nardo. Nardo's body is a canvas of pure agony, covered head to toe in festering, rotting wounds. He is writhing on the damp earth, groaning in pain as the salt air bites at his exposed flesh. The man who brought the water, a loyal follower named Brada, pours it into a ceremonial clay bowl. And then, the ritual begins. Nardo lifts a highly unusual, crooked dagger. This blade was the centerpiece of the entire ceremony, an ancient relic pulsing with unseen energy. Using it, Nardo draws his own blood, chanting deeply as if calling out to someone lurking in the abyss. He is summoning an entity named Nile Oropati. Suddenly, the dagger begins to hover on its own, defying gravity. The atmosphere in the room distorts, bending reality. Sometimes it looks as though Nardo is entirely alone in the void, speaking to the empty air. Other times, the shadows shift, making it seem like the room is crowded with unseen, observing entities. As the ritual progresses, something miraculous yet deeply unsettling happens. The festering wounds on Nardo's body begin to vanish, one by one, as if an invisible hand is erasing them from existence. By the time the chant ends, his skin is completely clear. He is totally healed. Seeing this dark miracle, Lakshmi gets up and leaves, her expression unreadable, heavy with a secret burden she has carried for years. The scene shifts to a modest, crumbling home in the same Indonesian village. Here, we meet a family struggling against the crushing weight of poverty and illness. A mother named Sumi lives with her two children, Nogi and Tari. Tari is sitting quietly on a worn mat, reciting the Holy Quran, her voice a soft whisper in the quiet room. Nogi rushes in, his face coated in sweat. He reminds them they need to leave immediately and asks why Tari isn't ready. Through their hushed, tense conversation, we learn that their mother, Sumi, is severely ill. Nogi wants to take her to a local shaman because they simply don't have the money for a real hospital. Sumi, being deeply religious, is strictly against visiting a shaman. She feels it goes against her Islamic faith, bordering on the unforgivable sin of shirk. She would rather die than associate partners with Allah. But Nogi insists. They have no other choice. The medical bills are impossible. To save their mother's life, Sumi reluctantly agrees, her heart heavy with dread. They arrive at the shaman's house. And honestly, this is where things started to feel wrong. The place is crowded with desperate people seeking cures for bizarre, unnatural ailments. Sumi's legs are rotting. The flesh is decaying, on the verge of complete failure. They are handed a form that requires detailed information, including the exact birth dates of both Sumi and her children. This specific detail makes Tari incredibly uneasy. Why would a healer need exact birth dates? Nogi, however, is distracted by his phone, ignoring the creeping dread, which irritates Tari to no end. When Nogi finally looks up, he sees people placing money into a specific wooden box for the shaman. A seed of greed takes root in his mind. Soon, it's their turn. They are led into a special, dimly lit room. Sumi is seated in the center, and Nogi and Tari take a spot on a worn sofa. The room is filled with terrifying, grotesque statues that seem to stare right through them. Tari's discomfort skyrockets into pure fear. Nardo is there. He pulls a heavy curtain shut, isolating himself and Sumi from the children. Then, he pulls out that same crooked dagger. He begins to chant, and using the dagger, he starts cutting into Sumi's back. He is carving symbols into her skin. Tari jumps up to stop him, but Nogi holds her back, telling her to let the healer work. And then, Nogi sees something that makes his blood run cold. An invisible force, a shadowy blur, is hovering over his mother, lapping up the blood pouring from her wounds. Nogi is paralyzed with shock, but slowly, the rotting wounds on Sumi's legs begin to heal. The decay reverses. It was as if some dark power was present, though no one else was in the room. The ritual concludes. Sumi is completely healed. She can stand on her own 2 feet. She is overjoyed. Before they leave, Nardo hands Nogi a small pouch. He tells him to hang it in their house to ward off negative energy. As they are leaving, Nogi overhears Brada talking on the phone. He says Nardo won't be home for the next 2 nights. Nogi's mind instantly snaps back to that box of money he saw earlier. When they arrive home, they find a small box waiting at their door. It has Nogi's name on it. Inside is a severed human finger, along with a threatening note, "Pay the loan soon or his fingers will be cut off next." Nogi is terrified. He pushes the fear aside, hangs the protective pouches, and rushes to work. Nogi works at a dusty, cramped local antique shop filled with forgotten relics. His boss is showing a wealthy customer a collection of antique daggers. Nogi brings out another blade. The customer is impressed but demands something older, rarer, and is willing to pay any price. He leaves his contact info. Nogi's boss yells at him for being late. Nogi asks for an advance, and his boss threatens to fire him if he's late again, tossing him a small amount of cash. Later, Nogi is sitting at a stall when a car suddenly screeches to a halt. Thugs pour out. Nogi recognizes them instantly and runs. They chase him through the crowded market, eventually trapping him. They drag him to a dark, abandoned warehouse. Inside, Nogi sees a young man being brutally tortured for failing to pay a loan. This is exactly why Nogi was brought here. He is thrown in front of the mob boss, Tito. Tito is furious. Nogi had borrowed money for his mother's treatment and hasn't paid it back. Worse, he's been ignoring Tito's calls. Tito threatens to destroy Nogi's home and kill him if he doesn't pay in 2 days. His men beat Nogi savagely before throwing him out. Meanwhile, back at Nardo's house, a man arrives with offerings. Nardo is supposed to leave the village with him today. The man asks about Laxmi. Nardo reveals she left because she was angry. Nardo wanted to involve her in the dark rituals, but she refused and cut all ties. Nardo, with a heavy heart, says he will soon find someone else to pass the burden to, freeing Laxmi. But the moment he says this, his hand begins to shake violently, agonizing pain tears through his body. He realizes Nile Oropati is furious. He begs for forgiveness, promising to serve the entity until his last breath. Back at Nogi's home, Tari and Sumi are praying. For the first time in years, Sumi is standing on her own feet. Nogi walks in, feeling a brief moment of peace. But then he looks at the pillar. The protective pouch is gone. He frantically calls for Tari. Tari casually admits she threw it away, believing it was shirk, idolatry against Allah. Nogi ignores her beliefs, picks the pouch back up, and hangs it again, warning her never to do that again or their mother might suffer. Tari notices Nogi's bruised face from the beating, but Nogi deflects, hands her the advance money, and retreats to his room. He is drowning in anxiety. The severed finger, the beating, and that box of money at Nardo's house. A dark idea begins to form in Nogi's mind. Knowing Nardo is away, Nogi sneaks out that very night, disguised as a thief. He breaks into Nardo's house. He finds the ritual room filled with creepy statues. He locates an almirah and opens it. There it is, the money box. He grabs it, but notices a piece of cloth attached to it. He tries to pull it off, but the cloth keeps coming. He pulls and pulls, amazed by the endless fabric. Suddenly, a horrifying statue emerges from the cloth. Nogi jumps back in terror. The cloth vanishes. Without thinking, Nogi grabs the box and flees. Back home, he smashes the lock on the box. He opens it, and his heart sinks. There is no money inside, only that cursed, crooked dagger. It was carefully preserved, meaning it was highly valuable but useless to Nogi, who needed cash. Disheartened, he wraps the box in a cloth and hides it under his bed. Exhausted, Nogi falls asleep. Suddenly, someone is banging on his door. He thinks it's his mother or sister, but when he opens it, no one is there. Instead, he sees a woman dancing in the distance, wearing the same green cloth from the almirah. He asks who she is, but she doesn't answer. The world goes pitch black. A female voice calls out to him, beckoning him closer. Nogi can't see anyone, but we see the terrifying woman dancing behind him. Nogi lights a wooden match. He tells her to leave his house. Just as the match burns out, the entity leaps onto his shoulders, laughing maniacally. Nogi struggles, finally throwing her off, only to look up and see someone attacking him. Nogi wakes up screaming. It was a dream, but it felt entirely real. Blood is dripping from his mouth. Then, the banging on the door starts again. Terrified, Nogi checks under the bed. The box is there. He pulls it out, opens it, and the dagger begins to float in midair. Nogi is petrified. The dagger drops back into the box and the lid slams shut by itself. Nogi senses a dark presence watching him. The next morning, Nogi takes the dagger to his antique boss. His boss is mesmerized. This is exactly the kind of rare artifact the customer wanted. Nogi asks how much it's worth. His boss tells him it could fetch 100 million Indonesian rupiah. Blinded by greed, Nogi lies, claiming he found it while cleaning his house. But his boss knows daggers like this don't just appear. He suspects something is hidden inside. He begins to perform a ritual, chanting over the blade. Suddenly, the boss loses himself. The lights flicker, objects fly off shelves, glass shatters. Nogi tries to snap him out of it, but it's no use. The entity from Nogi's nightmare appears. Moments later, the boss snaps back completely terrified. He forces the dagger back into Nogi's hands, demanding he leave. He fires Nogi on the spot, refusing to have anything to do with the cursed object. Nogi walks through the market, devastated. Suddenly, someone calls him a thief. He looks around. The faces of the people in the market distort. Their eyes turn black, their skin pale. They all surround him, calling him a thief and trying to choke him. Nogi grabs his own throat, lifting off the ground. Just as he's about to die, he hears voices calling his name. He snaps out of it. The market is normal. People are just staring at him, weirded out by his strange behavior. Nogi runs away in sheer panic. At Nardo's place, business has stopped. The dagger is missing. Nardo meditates, trying to locate it. Brada comes in, saying he can't find it anywhere. Nardo is terrified. The full moon is approaching, and without the dagger, the ritual can't be performed. As he speaks, his limbs begin to twist unnaturally. He collapses, screaming as wounds erupt all over his body. Brada tries to hold him. Nardo tells Brada to call a man named Rose. Brada can't reach him. Nardo then asks Brada to bring Lakshmi. He wants to see his daughter one last time. Nogi arrives home to find Tito's thugs ransacking his house. They are loading their furniture into a truck. Tari and Nogi try to stop them. Inside, a thug is slapping Sumi. Nogi pushes him away, tells Sumi not to worry, and says he will handle it. He meets the head thug and offers him the dagger to clear his debt. The thug laughs, mocking Nogi. He asks if his boss is a shaman. He spits on the dagger and throws it away. Nogi is terrified by the disrespect. Instantly, the doors in the house slam shut. The dagger flies through the air back to the thug. The thug loses control of his own body. One hand grabs his own tongue, the other grabs the dagger. He slices his own tongue off. Nogi and the others scream, trying to snap him out of it, but he dies. Everyone is traumatized, especially Sumi and Tari. Nogi begs his mother for forgiveness, but she just cries and walks away. Tari confronts him about the loans. In his panic, Nogi accidentally confesses to stealing the dagger. Tari is devastated, begging him to return it. Nogi refuses, afraid of being labeled a thief and arrested. But when Sumi returns and orders him to return it, Nogi silently agrees. Meanwhile, Lakshmi arrives at Nardo's house. Nardo is on his deathbed. He reaches out his hand, begging for forgiveness for ruining her life. Lakshmi is in immense pain, but she refuses to look at him. The next morning, Tito is blowing up Nogi's phone, threatening to burn his house down if he isn't paid today. Tari asks if Nogi is going to return the dagger. Nogi tells her he will handle it himself. But then, Nogi remembers the rich antique customer. Instead of returning the dagger, he goes to the customer. The customer is thrilled and offers 50 million rupiah. Nogi doesn't have a bank account, so he asks for cash. The customer takes the dagger, places it in a cabinet, and goes to a drawer to get the money. Suddenly, the cabinet starts shaking. The customer opens it. The dagger flies out, attacking him. Nogi hears the thrashing outside. He runs in to find the dagger embedded in the customer's throat. The man is dead. Panicking, Nogi pulls the dagger out and runs away before anyone can frame him. That night, Lakshmi sits with her dying father. She knows the full moon has risen, and tonight he will die. She cries, looking at the moon. Brada tries to comfort her. We then see a flashback revealing the dark history of the dagger. Lakshmi's mother was deathly ill, her body covered in wounds. Nardo couldn't bear to watch her die. He left his family and went to the sea, performing a grueling ritual for 30 days. Finally, the dagger emerged from the water. It could heal his wife. But he was too late. By the time he returned, his wife was dead. In his grief, he dropped the dagger. At that moment, Lakshmi screamed. The entity, Nile Oropati, possessed her. The entity was furious for being summoned to heal someone who was already dead. It demanded Nardo serve as its slave for life. As proof of servitude, it demanded his daughter's blood. Nardo had no choice but to cut Lakshmi's hand with the dagger. This meant Nile Oropati lived inside Lakshmi. Every full moon, Nardo had to perform a ritual bathing the dagger to prove his loyalty. Now, the dagger is gone. Nardo will die, and Lakshmi will be trapped as the entity's slave forever. They need to find someone with the exact same birth date to become the new master. Back in the present, Nardo is dying. The entity appears, throwing the green cloth at him. It wraps tightly around his neck, choking him. Black liquid pours from his mouth. Lakshmi and Brada arrive, but they are powerless to stop it. Nardo dies, thrashing in agony. Nardo is buried. Roz, the man who helped Nardo control the dagger, attends. Lakshmi begs him for a way out. Roz says there is a way, but they must find the dagger. To transfer ownership, a blood sacrifice is required. Nogi takes the dagger to Tito. He explains its immense value. Tito checks, realizes it's worth a fortune, and agrees to clear Nogi's debt, but keeps all the sale money. Nogi is just happy to be free. Meanwhile, at Nogi's house, Sumi's health drastically deteriorates. Tari lifts her blanket and screams. The rotting wounds have returned, worse than before. The protective pouch is leaking black liquid. The dark magic is failing because of Nogi. Nogi is leaving Tito's place when he hears a noise. He turns around to a horrific sight. Tito is hanging from a rope, the dagger embedded in his chest. All his thugs are dead on the floor. Nogi realizes the dagger is purely evil. He sprints all the way home. Tari sees his bruised face and asks if Nardo did this. Nogi ignores her and goes to his room. He lies to Tari, saying he returned the dagger. Suddenly, a knocking sound comes from the almirah. Tari opens it and finds the box with the dagger inside. She is furious. Nogi is stunned. He left it in Tito's chest. Tari decides to end this. She takes the dagger and throws it into a nearby pond. She comes back crying. Tari starts performing wudu to pray. Nogi starts convulsing. He hears a female voice. The entity is trying to control him. Nogi fights it, but the almirah suddenly opens by itself. The box is back. Nogi throws it again. The room goes pitch black. Furniture flies. Lights flicker. Nile Oropati appears in front of Nogi. The entity tells him to bow, and he will give him the world. The dagger flies into Nogi's hand. He tries to resist, but his body moves against his will. He swings the dagger. The entity catches his hand and laughs. Nogi hears screaming and snaps out of it. He hasn't stabbed the entity. He has stabbed his own sister Tari. Sumi walks in and screams. Nogi is destroyed. Sumi collapses. Meanwhile, Lakshmi is checking the forms from Nardo's clinic. She's looking for someone with her exact birth date. She finds it. Nogi. He is the one who can take the burden. Just then, Nogi arrives, bringing the dagger back. Brada realizes Nogi is the thief who caused Nardo's death and attacks him. Lakshmi stops Brada. She realizes Nogi is her ticket to freedom. She calmly tells Nogi that because Sumi was healed by the dagger, stealing it caused the sickness to return. She says they must perform a ritual to lift the curse, and Nogi must do it. Desperate to save his mother, Nogi agrees. That night, Nogi locks Tari in her room to prevent her from interfering. Lakshmi fetches seawater. Brada tries to stop Lakshmi, saying the ritual is wrong and dangerous. Lakshmi refuses to listen and goes alone. At Nogi's house, Lakshmi tells Nogi they need Sumi's blood. Nogi, sick to his stomach, cuts his mother's hand. He then cuts his own hand to join the ritual. Tari wakes up for Fajr prayer, finds her door locked, and starts screaming. No one answers. Lakshmi begins chanting, offering Sumi as a sacrifice to Nile Oropati in exchange for her own freedom. Lakshmi is fully possessed. Her eyes turn white and she dances terrifyingly. Brada arrives and hears Tari screaming. He breaks a window and frees her. He tells her everything. Tari is terrified for her brother and mother. Inside the ritual room, Nogi's consciousness shifts. He is pulled into the Jinn realm. He has no control over his body. Shadowy figures wash his feet in blood and flower water. He is being led to a dark throne. In the real world, Brada and Tari burst in. They pull Sumi away from the ritual. Brada attacks the possessed Lakshmi. Tari screams at Nogi, begging him to wake up and recite istighfar. In the Jinn realm, Nogi is forced toward the throne. The ritual is disrupted, angering Nile Oropati. Lakshmi stabs Brada. He dies in Lakshmi's arms. Lakshmi is devastated. Tari tries to stop Lakshmi. They both attack at the same time, and the dagger plunges into Lakshmi's neck. Lakshmi dies. Nogi is in the Jinn realm. Nile Oropati offers him the dagger to complete his servitude. Nogi's hand reaches out, but Tari's voice echoes in his ears, begging him to recite istighfar. Nogi looks around and sees the tortured souls of past slaves bowing to him. He realizes the horror of his fate. He screams, fighting the entity's control. He refuses the throne. Tari's continuous prayers pierce the veil. Nogi snaps back to reality. He is traumatized, seeing the dead bodies around him. Tari keeps pleading with him to pray. Nogi finally recites istighfar, breaking the dagger's hold over his soul just in time. The nightmare is over. Nogi learned a devastating lesson. The dark pouch is gone from their door. In its place is a paper with a protective Islamic prayer. The family prays together. The cursed dagger is locked away forever inside a glass box, sealed permanently. They saved themselves and the world from its evil. But even though the story ended, something about it still doesn't feel finished. Because in the end, the real horror wasn't what they saw. It was what they never escaped.